Hello everyone and welcome to this CAPSS Legislative Update. I'm Ann Baldwin and joined today by Randy Collins, the Senior Staff Associate for Government Relations for CAPSS, and Charles Rothenberger with the firm of Rome, Smith and Lutz, and also the lobbyist for CAPSS, which is of course the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents. So we're in the midst of the legislative session right now, a couple of bills of interest that we want people to know about, and we'll have a call to action as well in this conversation so that people can have their input. Let's start with Senate Bill 1026.
Well, Senate Bill 1026 is the bill that would delay graduation requirements, high school graduation requirements, until the graduating class of 2023. It includes, at that time, it would include a minimum requirement of 25 credits, broken down 9 credits in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, 1 credit in physical education and wellness, 1 credit in world language, and 1 credit mastery-based diploma assessment. And I'll let Charles speak about the mastery-based piece of it.
Yeah, well, this is a bill that CAPSS has been working on for quite a long time. We actually chaired a task force last year, or 2 years ago actually, where these recommendations come out of. And we're pleased to find that they're finally getting some traction. In addition to really collapsing and streamlining some of the credit requirements, what this would do would promote multiple pathways for students to demonstrate mastery in these certain areas, whether that would be on-site work experience, internships, online learning. The idea is really tailoring the educational experience to the needs of the student and how they best learn. And it's really what we need moving into the 21st century. Our current educational model is really a 19th century model, a factory model of seat time, a number of hours sitting in a chair, and frankly, a successful completion of the course is getting a D and moving on. Mm-hmm. This would actually require students to show that they've mastered the skills, can demonstrate them, and that's really the way that you prepare students in the 21st century for whatever their career path might be, whether it's college, whether it's going straight into a technical career, and also participating in our civic life.
Right, so let's just, it's more customized education, and as you talked about, Charles, multiple pathways, and so how you get there is different today than how it used to be. Any pushback on this bill, or do you think it's got a good chance of seeing the light of day?
I would say I'm very optimistic about this bill. We have some great champions lined up behind it in the Education Committee, particularly the 2 co-chairs of the Education Committee. And as I mentioned, this is a concept that CAPSS has been talking about at the General Assembly for a number of years. And I think with all of the bad news happening at the state level because of the economy, this is actually something positive that the General Assembly can accomplish, which doesn't actually cost any additional money.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about House Bill 7252.
7252 is a bill that modifies the burden of proof that school systems are required to attain in order to get a favorable decision on a special ed mediation case. And right now, under the burden of proof, the school system is always responsible for the burden. This would introduce a middle step, if you will, of what we call adjudication, where parent and school system could agree to meet with an adjudicator, someone with a specialized background in special education. He or she would decide what would be the best program for the child. And that would be, it could be the school's position, it could be the parent's position, it could be a middle position. If that was agreed to, then that would be fine. It would end the process. If not, then the parent has every right to go to a full-fledged special ed hearing. And the burden of proof would still remain with the school system, but the adjudicator's opinion would also go as part of the record. The problem with the bill that we have, that CAPSS has, is that it makes that adjudication process optional and voluntary. Therefore, it is virtually a meaningless piece of the bill. So we would like superintendents to call their legislators and try to get that provision to be a mandatory step.
Because that could save, districts a whole lot of money, because let's face it, special education costs are already, a large chunk of school systems budgets. So this could in the end save on legal fees and those types of
Well,
things.
legal fees is one thing. Of course, if you lose it, you're responsible for the parents' legal fees also. But more importantly, what happens, having been a superintendent for years, what happens is parents will want a particular program which may not be necessary or even desirable for the student, and at some point you may give to that program because it's just too costly to go on to the hearing process.
Okay. So what can people do? What can the folks, the superintendents and the assistant superintendents and the other folks watching this, what do you want them to do in regard to Senate Bill 1026 and House Bill 7252? What can they do, Charles?
Sure. Well, with respect to 1076, the high school graduation requirements, the best thing that you can do is just contact your local legislators and add your support for the bill. I think it's in good shape, but positive reinforcement is always a good
helps.
thing. Notice folks when they're doing something good.
Right.
With respect to 7252, we really do need the language of that bill changed to make the adjudicatory process a mandatory step. If it's simply a voluntary step that folks can choose to pursue, it doesn't really provide any value. And as we look at the state budget, the real threat of municipal and local school district budgets being slashed really to the bone and beyond, getting a handle on special education costs is critical. They're a component of educational costs that are rising 2 to 3 times faster than the regular education costs. And I don't think that's a trend that's going to disappear anytime soon.
Okay. So that would be a better way to manage this. And so we do want people to call their legislators. Randy Collins, I want to thank you so much for this conversation. Charles Rothenberger, and as you just heard these two gentlemen say, if you have the opportunity, we encourage you to call your legislator, support Senate Bill 1026, and in regard to House Bill 7252, ask that the language be changed to really benefit all the students in our public school systems and all of our school districts. And we want to thank you for watching this edition of CAPSS Legislative Update.